Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to be talking about how to survive Accountex or any other form of convention for the accounting world. A big shout out to everyone we met at Accountex as well, if you did say hi, and to all the vendors and everyone that we've been involved with over the past couple of years. It's great to see you in person, great to see you in something other than a Zoom format, so that was really nice. And it really does make it worthwhile going to these conventions. So if we do ever see you around in any of the others, whoever's listening to this, then do come up and say hi to us. Me and Lizzie will always be happy to say hello to you. Okay, let's get on with today's show then, and let's understand exactly how to survive Accountex. Stay tuned. Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer with a fancy new logo, that QuickBooks Chap on the internet, and also head of accounts here at Boffix. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about exactly how to survive Accountex. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's the weekend after Accountex 2022. The fact that I'm still feeling a little bit like it took it out of me going around that humongous area and talking to lots and lots and lots of different people. Now, it's definitely worth it, but I think a few tips and tricks would actually make it so you can have a much more better experience. And that's what this video is all about. At the end of the day, you want to be making the most out of any convention you're at. You want to be making the most out of what's going on there. So without further ado, let's go into tip number one. First of all, plan ahead. I don't mean trying to go through the actual timetables and trying to figure out exactly who you want to see and circling them, everything else. Now, if you're going to do that, definitely do that. The problem you're going to find is that it doesn't matter how great your planning ahead's going to be, then on the day, it's going to be very difficult to keep to that exact plan. What's going to be more beneficial for you is just going through and finding the ones that are unmissable to you. Those talks or those people that you follow that you know you need to be making sure you get there and get there early so you can secure yourself enough seats. So do plan ahead and try and find those ones. Don't do what I saw a lot of people doing and literally going through each of the ones saying which one I want to go to and going from there, because you're not going to give yourself enough time to actually process what you're learning, process what's going on, and ultimately you're just going to be throwing information at you. Hopefully some of it sticks, some of it won't, and you won't get the most out of it. Also, if you spend your whole time just going through this timetable, going to each of the individual chats and talks, that's not going to give you enough time to go along the floor, actually talking to vendors, and you'll miss out on another really key aspect of what Accountex is all about. Now, for me, when I was looking at planning, and the criteria I have are two main things. First of all, that trip there to get there in the first place. Now, in my humble opinion, and everyone's different, but in my humble opinion, I don't need to be at the venue or at the area of London the night before. I can more than easily get on the train on that day. I go from Derby, so it's not the quickest and easiest route, but I can make it from Derby to the convention centre with no stress whatsoever. Now, it does involve a bit of planning, and that's where the planning will come in. But for me, the most important thing is making sure you have somewhere to stay that night. So at least then you can enjoy the event as much as you possibly can. Talk about that later as well, about the after parties and things like that. But then you're not in any pressure to be able to get back to home before the next day starts. So when it comes to planning, I think at least making sure that that night, that first night of the actual convention itself, you've got somewhere to stay, you've got somewhere available. And then at least then you're going to have the opportunity to make the most of it there. The second bit about planning is making sure you know how to get to the venue and how to get back to the venue, because the last thing you want to be doing is stressing about that on the day. You want to be coming nice, open-minded, absolutely fresh, ready to rock and roll, and again, you'll get the most out of the experience. So let's look at some tips and tricks of what to do on that one. Let's have a look. Okay, so your first thing is, where is Excel? Well, actually the Excel Centre is really easy to get to. If I look at London itself, you'll notice as I start going into near the London city centre, there's this what's called the Docklands area just here, and you can see Excel Centre is just up here. Now, pro tips to actually making the most out of it. If you are looking to stay in the area, this convention centre is used all the time. It's got lots and lots of areas. So you've got your hotels around here, you've got all these hotels there, there's hotels around this area. Now, they do get booked up really quickly, so the opportunity you're going to have to strike while the iron's hot and make sure you get in there nice and early to secure these ones, especially if you're looking to get a half decent rate. Now, if you are looking to get a hotel around the actual vicinity, and to be fair, if needed, there's plenty of locations outside of here, if we start scrolling up here, you can see really anything in this general area, you're in a good position to be able to get yourself there. Now, if you haven't though, my pro tip would be to make advantage of the DLR line. So you'll notice here that the DLR line just here is actually really handy. Because basically what this is all about is that this DLR, which is the Dockland Light Railway, is going to give you a chance to actually get directly to the station itself. So if you can get yourself a hotel that's on the DLR line, then you're going to find it really easy. Now, personally, going this way through London, kind of limited a little bit because we're coming towards the end really of the DLR station. So unless you can get a hotel there for a nice quick and easy one, you're probably going to be in exactly the same issues you have of trying to get around this area just there. But if you were to go and head to the very end of the DLR line, and my personal preference is up here at Stratford International just here, this is where I stayed for this particular one. This hotel here, the Hilton, the Gantry, but I have also stayed at this Apartha Hotel just there. Both of them absolutely brilliant. Really good if you want to be doing a bit of work between the conferences as well. Fantastic. And also recommended is the actual Stratford Hotel just here as well. This one is a highly recommended hotel. But really any of these hotels in this area, and you've got a nice Premier Inn down here, got pretty much any type of hotel that you'd like, these ones were really cost effective because they had no idea that there was a convention on at that point in time. And all we did each morning, jumped on the DLR. Now, either you're going to get really lucky and you're going to get yourself straight to the Custom House, which is just this one just here. That's the best stop to get onto. You can also get off at Prince Regent if you want to go in the back entrance. But majority of the time, the best way to do is get off at this Custom House here. There's a bridge directly to Excel Centre itself. And you'll also notice there's going to be people there. Nice little Starbucks for you to jump off at. Really nice. And you basically get to have the opportunity to walk down from there. So that should make it really easy for you to plan ahead and get yourself there. Make sure you're either on that DLR line for getting a hotel or stay in that area. The next tip I would recommend is thinking about grabbing yourself, as soon as you walk in, a tote bag. Inside here will be space for you to be able to put all the stuff you're going to be handed out over the day. Maybe grab yourself and put some water and other provisions in there as well. But more importantly, this is just going to set the scene for you for making sure that you're not going to be overburdened with all the stuff that you're going to be picking up and everything else. Highly recommend, so as soon as you get in, grab yourself the tote bag. Then key thing here is also, we said before about planning ahead, making sure that you're going through, picking which of these different days you're going to go through and everything else that goes with it. But I can promise you that you're going to come across situations where you're just not going to be able to make that particular plan stick. Great example would be like for us, we went in there on that first smooch around and we first walked around the convention centre. We bumped into vendors and we bumped into friends. So even though our plans were to go to XYZ, suddenly they all changed. And also we were spending time actually with the vendors themselves. You've got to remember that it's not just about the talking events here. It's about making those relationships with your vendors and talking about them and those exhibitors and everything else that are there. They're there for a reason. And they've got the opportunity to be able to give you a reason to be able to talk to them. And they're normally there to find ways to make your practice better. So I highly recommend just talking to them and getting that opportunity. Speaking of the exhibitors as well, now controversially, there is that whole thing about, well, do you go and get yourself the swag? So I've got cups, I've got bottles, I've got wireless chargers, more bottles, whole plethora of different items. But I think the most biggest ones that come this time around I'm actually really appreciated was socks. We got lots and lots of socks during this particular one, and it's great to grab all of the merch there and everything else and the swag. Try and be mindful of the environment. You know, some of the really popular swag this time around was little plants and bird seeds, and there was one exhibitor who had a butterfly feed in, and I think those sort of things really does resonate and really does kind of help you remember. Now, one of the things that is really useful as well is making sure that you get stuck in with whatever sort of opportunities they're trying to give you. Now, as the exhibitor themselves, their whole aim is to try and get you to be brand aware of what it is they're trying to sell. They're trying to make sure that you remember your experience with them. And a lot of them, especially this time round, they've been a lot more clever, should I say, in terms of what they've done and how they've put together their actual exhibits. And I really do recommend people get stuck in with whatever they're trying to do and trying to be a little bit different. So as a great example, there was one of them there where they had a little golfing opportunity where you could try and win some money or win a prize, whatever it was, for the person who got it in the hole quickest and all those sort of things. And there's always these little incentives for you to go in there and talk to them. It's not just a case of standing there and just talking willy-nilly to them. And I find that really, really powerful, but it does mean you sometimes have to get out your comfort zone. May feel a little bit silly just hitting a golf ball, but it is there for a purpose. It's about breaking the ice, breaking the barriers. So do give them the opportunity. You know, a lot of times they've spent a lot of money to be there, and it is nice just to be able to give them the opportunity to let them talk to you about what it is that they're talking about. They may not be able to solve a particular solution you have, but it's a very close-knit community, and if they can't solve the solution you need, they might be able to know which stand to go to be able to get that particular issue solved. So have some problems you're facing in your practice before you go there, and then you'll have the opportunity to be able to talk to them as well. Don't forget at all points to make sure you've got some water with you. That's why these water bottles are actually so useful. There is opportunities to fill up for free at the convention centre itself. So you will be able to just go up there, fill the water bottles up, and good jobs are good in. There is also a really nice Starbucks on the way in. If you took my advice and went on the DLR, come off that DLR, the station that we said, and on your right hand side there's a lovely Starbucks there. Normally not too busy either, so because it's kind of away from the hustle and bustle, it's normally quite a nice little one to go to. There is a Costa inside the Excel Centre itself, but it is very, very, very busy, as you can imagine, so maybe that's not the best solution that's there. Be prepared to say hello to literally everybody. It was crazy when I was walking around there for how many people I actually recognised that I'd never spoken to before in my whole entire life. But either I've seen them at a convention before, or they've been talking, or I've seen them online in some sort of social media capacity. There's always going to be people that you recognise, and each and every one of them will love the opportunity to say hello. And it's about making those connections, isn't it? So you have the opportunity to say hello to them. They then can maybe ask you a bit of questions or feedback from what they're doing, and it all really, really works really well. The amount of people that we got to see in them was absolutely amazing, and that really makes it really worthwhile. Now, as I said at the beginning of it, it does mean you do a lot of talking. So again, having a drink of water is going to be massively important to you. You know, some of you guys came up and said hello to us. Really appreciate that. And if you do see us in any other conferences around the UK around the year, then do go up to us and say hello, because that's what this is all about. And then there's the opportunity after all of it's done from day one, there is the opportunity for after parties. Highly recommend before you go, make sure you pre-book them. So a lot of those, just go on the social media sites, you'll see that a lot of them have the pre-booked opportunities, or as you're going around the conference centre, you can book yourself in there. But get yourself involved in them. Even if you're just turning up for half an hour or so, really good idea just to get there. You'll be able to see some of those exhibitors you've not been able to see during the actual day itself. Gives you a chance to decompress, chance to talk to other people about what they thought. Have an opportunity to talk to people who went to one of the speaking opportunities or one of the theatres that you didn't get a chance to see, and talk to those and see what they got out of that. You'll be able to compare notes and going through everything that's there. Also, if you are going there for just the half an hour or so, you may well find yourself being one of the most popular people there as you then hand over the tokens you didn't get to use during that half an hour. So it's worthwhile for everyone, and I highly recommend it. And just prepare yourself during when you're kind of planning for the event to give you that time to go in and make the most of those secondary parties, because they can be just as impactful and eventful for you in terms of learning things, understanding things, making new connections going forward than actually being there for that one day or for those 2 days. For a great example for me was the fact that I had no intention of going to see a particular exhibitor when I was going through my pre-planning. It was just something that never really hit my actual radar at all. Turns out when I went to this actual event there, it wasn't hosted by them at all. It was just, we just started talking during the event itself. Not talking shop at all to begin with, but it led down to the fact of, you know, what do you do? How do you do things? All that sort of stuff. And it became one of the most important connections we made during the time. And if it wasn't for that second night, I've been able to have that conversation and during that after party and talking to them, then on the second day, I wouldn't have actually have gone to their stall, further enhanced kind of that connection, and started making plans for us both to kind of make the most out of what we could do for one another to help each other. So that connection there now means that we've created a whole new network, whole new revenue for us, and it was all thanks to just making the most of those little after parties afterwards. So give yourself the opportunity to go to them, and I promise you, you'll enjoy them as well. That brings me on to, do you need to go for both days? I think that's a question a lot of people. I think most people get away with just that one day. We definitely felt on that second day that, you know, we'd kind of seen most of it. We were kind of happy enough not to need to go around on that second day. But actually just making those connections on that first day and on that first night, going for that second day just to kind of recoup was actually really worthwhile for us. But I think for the majority of people, just that one day will be more than enough to make the most out of it. And I think that's, you know, that's where you get the benefit of having that 2-day opportunity. You choose, do you go for both days or not? And that's going to make your life so much easier to make that decision. And the final big tip of all of this is making notes and keeping on top of what you'll learn through the day. For me personally, this was indispensable throughout this whole journey. The opportunity for me to quickly jot notes, be able to book in time, be able to maybe research a little bit more if I needed to while I was listening and compressing and understanding what was going on. Absolutely indispensable for me. So the most important thing you'll ever learn, if it's this or if it's a paper book or whatever, however it is you're going to keep notes as you're going along, the most important thing by all of it is to act on it when you get back. You will be feeling so inspired and so pumped for making the most out of time going forward. You then need to give yourself that opportunity afterwards to understand it and learn it and compress it and act on it as you go forward. That's going to be the key to making the most out of this, or not making the most out of it. So I highly recommend to everybody to make the most out of this opportunity and to act on everything that you learn during that time. And there you have it. That is a breakdown of how to survive Accountex in 2022 and beyond. And hopefully, fingers crossed, with those little simple tips there, you will be able to turn up to these events and be able to make the most out of it going forward. It's silly season at the moment when it comes to conventions. So we've got the Digital Accountancy show not too long from here. Myself, I'll be presenting on one of the stages there. So will some of our other friends that will be showcasing in this video as well. So that's definitely worthwhile for you to actually go and talk to. So if you watch this and you were on the fence about going to any of these events, highly recommend getting yourself involved. You'll learn so much about the world of accounting and your practice and how to push it forward. And that's it. My name's been Aaron Patrick. It's been an absolute pleasure to do this video for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.
War det fett? Var du så svett? I'll probably knock over that mannequin and also smash the mugs and stuff. Whoops. Yay.
Amazing how much quieter and more
This
subdued it is.
oh look, the butterfly escape.
You hope that's the butterfly escaped. Maybe it's coming after you. You got food for it, haven't you?
Don't tempt me, I'll take it home and I'll be my new pet. Andrew would be like, bloody, can't get away from the pets. I brought a pigeon home with me once. Because there was like a baby pigeon fell out of like a nest. And it was like in the back, like where we worked, you go out the back and there's all like the bins and like a big unloading area where they give you all the stock. We were all just out there like chatting on our lunch break. And then this poor little pigeon like fell down and it was like stuck or something. So I was like, oh, I can't just leave it there. So I took it in a box, like a shoe box or something, and took it home. It lived in my bathroom, my spare bathroom, for like a few days, and I was like, I taught it how to fly. And then we eventually released it. But yeah, everyone thought I was crazy.
You taught it how to fly?
I did. It wasn't flying, and then I don't know how I did it.
I was gonna say.
I did. It was stuck in the room.
How many times have you been flying?
It finally flew, and I was like, okay, it's ready to go. So yeah.
You should have stuck that on the CV.
I know. I shouldn't I? I can raise animals from the wild.
You can teach them how
Teach
to fly.
them how to fly.
Yeah, I just casually taught a pigeon how to fly.